Good morning, everybody. We are live on a Monday morning with Leigh-Ann Mole, Gareth Cliff, and you. You, and especially you. All right, so we made it through the weekend, and we have survived until another week of May. It is definitely getting colder and darker in the mornings, but I'm not here to point out the obvious, am I? I mean, really, do we need to hear that stuff? Yeah.
Well, not so obvious as the eclipse.
Okay, now that's quite a big deal, huh? I saw Ruth in the comments. She was obviously up very early this morning, checking out the eclipse and checking out the planetary alignment. That's all happening today, right?
Yeah, I haven't witnessed it myself. Have you had a look?
No. I didn't even know it was happening until I saw this message.
I can only see a reflection of a light in my house. It looks like the moon, but it's not that.
I wonder if there's any more info about this.
Yeah. Let's have a look.
And planetary alignment. Yeah, you see, I don't know. I mean, I'm not an astronomer, so I'm not really on top of these things. But if you know what's going on, let me know. Lunar eclipse. Usually in the Middle Ages, this is when they would say, "Oh, there's a portent of some terrible thing that's going to happen." You know, people were so superstitious, and they'd look to the skies, and if the moon wasn't exactly the same as it had been for the previous 10 months, they were going, "Oh no, this is the will of God. We're all going to die."
Well, if you want to see it in South Africa, firstly it's called May's full flower moon. Okay, and it's the first. It's the first of 4 supermoons this year.
Okay,
and obviously the flower moon is attributed to a full moon in May. It coincides this time with a total lunar eclipse of the heart and a supermoon as well. So the eclipse will be visible in South America, Africa, parts of Europe, and peaks during the early morning hours on today, Monday, the 16th of May.
Right, now I feel like I have to go outside and look at this goddamn thing.
Well,
now I feel like I'm missing out.
Yeah.
And how long is it? I'm going to have to do this. Sorry.
90 minutes. 90 minutes.
All right, give me 5 seconds. I won't even be that long. Hold on.
Okay. So yeah, you'll have approximately 90 minutes to gaze at it. Oh, might be a bit late. What's the time? So 3:30 was the first phase.
Nope.
Here it comes.
I can't see shit. Sorry.
Okay. You know why?
Why?
Possibly because I'm reading now. It entered the first phase at 3:30 this morning.
Oh, that's too early.
And it would have lasted 90 minutes.
So it's gone already. It's done.
I think so.
All right. Damn, man. I hate it when this stuff happens and I miss out. I feel this is called FOMO. This sounds like a reason to be full of FOMO. But isn't it amazing how we've got to a point in human understanding of how the whole universe works, where it's the average, the everyman is no longer like, oh no, this means we have to sacrifice our eldest children, because obviously it wasn't so long ago that people would do things like that when something strange happened in the heavens. Anyway,
I had a friend whose moods were very much in line with the moon, and I'm not all tuned in when it comes to that sort of stuff, but all I knew was that if she started acting up, it was a full moon. Absolutely,
really?
No doubt.
Time. Really?
Yeah.
Maybe she's just properly certifiably crazy. I mean, look, there's no doubt that the rhythms of a whole bunch of things on this planet are controlled by our proximity to the sun and obviously to the moon and to the nature of our orbit around the one, and the other one's orbit around us. So, I mean, it's all very cool, and certainly, these are the massive bodies in our celestial environment. This is the stuff that I suppose really should exert an influence, if anything. What I don't buy is all the star sign stuff. I just don't. Never really liked that stuff. It didn't make sense to me that just because someone was born on the same day as someone else, that they would have the same kinds of patterns occurring in their life, or the same, today's going to be a lucky day, but yesterday was obviously shit,
Yeah.
Anyway.
It seems like the only time I ever, just out of curiosity, is read one of those, is when I'm actually quite desperate for an answer for something. And it just shows you how that sort of stuff people, go to when they're really desperate.
Well, when you're desperate, that's exactly when that stuff starts to stick out for you. That's when
Yeah.
I mean, by definition, that's when you're going to be looking for answers in the most bizarre places. But how was your weekend? What did you get up to?
It was all good. I think the most exciting thing was that I bought a new shower head, which made all the difference. So the one, as you remember, I moved recently, is about the size of a
Coin.
coin. And the one that I've got now is, a good hand-sized one. And that was like putting on a warm gown in the middle of winter. It felt amazing. And then as I got out, I hung up my towel and the towel rail fell to the floor. So
shit.
I saw that as a bad omen, not to do anything more in the house and just do nothing.
You see, this is why superstition still exists. It's now just it's confined in your house to towel rails. But I can't tell you how important like that shower head thing is a big, big deal. That can make the difference this winter. That'll make the difference between you being happy and you being sad.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I
It's that
remember
big deal.
those days I used to cry in the shower. No more of that.
No, you don't. Well, now you get enough water out of the shower head for you to not have to cry. You were crying to make up for the piddly little drip, drip, drip of the previous shower head. No, listen, those things, this is also a sign that we're getting very old, but it's a good sign. I mean, these are the things that matter in the world. Like if I think about the stuff that truly makes me happy these days, it's not the big things. It's a good shower head. It's a good set of linen on your bed. And this is not, and these things, by the way, do not have to cost you an arm and a leg, and you don't have to be buying, 10,000 count Egyptian cotton shit, although that stuff supposedly is spectacular. You just have to have stuff that makes you happy, stuff that makes those day-to-day things a little more, a little less routine, and a little more of a luxury. That's again, I refer all the time to the Japanese, and I mean this is a stereotype, so it's not all Japanese people, but the idea that so many Japanese people consider the small day-to-day things to be ritual. Certainly in the old days when there was a lot more tradition there. You'd wake up, you'd bow to the sun, you'd make yourself a little cup of like green tea or whatever. These are the little things that people would do to start their day that made the day just a little more special. It made you feel like you were partaking in a religious ritual.
Makes you feel grounded.
Sure, if you get into the shower and you have a nice stream of nice warm water on you, as opposed to like this thing that squirts in different directions, and the one hole's blocked, and it's all calcified and caked over, and like it makes a funny noise when you turn it on, and then it goes, and then it goes. You don't want that shit in your life. It just makes you feel like, I don't deserve better. Even my shower head fucking hates me. That's not good. That's not what you want to be.
And like you said, it's not expensive. This shower head was 89 Rand.
There we go. You didn't need to go and you didn't. And did you need a plumber to install it, or did you do it yourself?
It took 1 or 2 tries because I had to figure out you've got which part to undo. And I did have a ladder in the shower, which was a little bit treacherous.
I can imagine you. Were you wearing clothes, or were you naked in case the thing came on and you just carry on with the shower?
I had on pajamas, and as I was unscrewing the old one, it started dripping down my inside my sleeve and down my back in freezing cold water. And then the ladder started slipping, and I thought this might be my demise. You might find me with a new shower head that I never ever got to use and experience, and flat on my back with a ladder on its side.
Oh my God. Corona's Boring says the worst is when electricity comes out of the shower.
Oh no, have you had that feeling before when you're doing the dial and you get a zing?
No, man.
No, I promise you, sometimes the wiring's a bit strange. It's happened to me twice in other people's houses.
That is so dangerous. Oh my God.
I know.
That's it. if you are getting electricity in your shower, you really need to call both the electrician and the plumber and let them spend a good couple of hours figuring out what the hell's going on. That's not fun. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Yeah, it
So look,
happened at my folks' house, and I was staying there for a while, and I said, "Dad, it's so weird. Is it my imagination, or am I getting this kind of zing when I touch the taps?"
oh my God.
And he said, "Oh yeah, I must change that one wire back."
Yeah, listen, again, some of the most important things that you learn, and like this is the first house that I built for myself. But I've when I lived with my folks for however many years, we moved houses and my parents were always renovating and everything. Bathrooms. People do not spend enough time thinking about the bathroom. That is probably, you should spend more time thinking about the bathroom than you do about your bedroom.
Or your
Because
kitchen.
if you, oh man, if you have a nice bathroom with a bit of space in it, because we always try to squeeze bathrooms into whatever tiny space is left after you've made the bedrooms, right?
Should be the
Actually,
other way around.
it should be the other way around. And I have always looked at, I do these floor plans and things I haven't done one for a while, but when I'm bored, I draw like buildings. I'm a frustrated architect, so it's one of the things I like to do. And my favorite thing is actually designing bathroom spaces, because if you have a nice, well laid out bathroom with enough room, because people have these tiny little showers, they have these tiny little areas and that's where you get ready in the morning. If you have a bit of space there, it's amazing. It's the best.
Mm.
It's essential. It can make the difference between, waking up and feeling like $1,000,000 and waking up and absolutely hating yourself for the whole day. It's terrible.
Yeah, I've often, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Claire says, to your comment, electricity in the shower is weird and scary. I lived in a house in Saudi that did that. They had to move us because it was discovered there was no earth leakage. Earth leakage. Somebody said just now that Francis says that's when the neutral in the geyser is damaged. Oh,
Oy
yeah.
vey.
Oh, you don't want that. That's shocking. And Marco says his ritual is watching us in the morning. Well, okay. I mean, if we can help, that's great. Robin says, why do men build like that? Hey, Robin, don't bring your misandry. Don't bring your misandry here so early. Why don't you get a fucking construction degree? Women speak up, huge showers, and no his and hers shower heads. Well, I mean, there are also those people who have, Robin, to your point, there are those people who have those amazing showers where they've got the big shower head on top, then they've got a little one over here, then they've got a bunch of other ones that come out from all over the place. I mean, you get some very, very fancy showers. Have you ever been to one of those home expos? I haven't been for years, but there are these companies now that make these showers that it's like a computer going on in there.
Mm.
You have to. It's got more buttons on it than the control panel for the lunar capsule that went up to the moon.
And it looks like the lunar capsule too. I've been in one of those at a beauty spa once. It was, you literally pressed a button and then it did its thing, but it was a whole circuit.
Yeah.
And stuff shoots out into different orifici at any given moment.
Yeah, you don't know. You've got to be careful because sometimes it'll just take you unawares. Like you feel a bit like you've been, violated. That's how it goes. Anyway, it's very, very funny. So this is important. And Ruth says even kitchens are important for the social aspect of entertaining. It can be like a dungeon otherwise. That's absolutely true. And it's weird how we tend to spend most of our time and effort on planning spaces in the home which we use the least. You think about it, like entrance halls or sitting rooms, or in South Africa, what you should concentrate on is kitchen, bathrooms, and outside entertaining areas. Because with the exception of those 3-4 months in winter where it gets cold, and one of them is now, from now until like September, so May, June, July, August, that's the only time you really are indoors in South Africa without any thinking about outside. And even then, people sometimes have a fireplace outside, or they have heaters, or they have, it's mostly closed in perhaps. So even then we spend a lot of time outside. But we don't prioritize these things. And I know there are architects who've got far more experience in this and think about these things more than I do. But I love the idea of designing a house in a country like South Africa, where you've got a lot of outside time, where you've got mostly really good weather, and you can
Mm.
make that house. There's this beautiful place. If you see two concentric circles, like the Audi badge, but instead of four rings, it's just two,
Hmm.
right? In your head, picture those two circles, but where the two overlap. To me, the first circle is utilitarian and functional. That's like it's got to work, right? So you don't want your shower making electric shocks while you're in it. That's kind of it's got to function properly. You've got to have a good, strong flow of water through that shower head. But the beautiful part, which is the second circle,
Mm.
that's all about how it looks and how attractive it is, because this is massive to me. If those two don't have that space in between, is where it's the best, where it,
Mm.
it both functions beautifully and it looks amazing.
Mm.
Oh man, that's important.
It's the Venn diagram of
Correct.
practicality versus aesthetics.
Right. Yes. People are now correcting me saying, yeah, it's called a Venn diagram, you idiot. Yeah, well, I was
Oh.
trying to explain it to people who are not watching us, who are listening.
Mm.
B says, when I'm big, I'm going to have two toilets in the house. My God, one toilet when you live with a man is tricky. Well,
Oh.
again, this has come up in conversation on the show many times, and also with friends and people who just got married and people who are getting divorced. They say the key, well, one of the keys to a happy marriage is to have a separate loo, or if you really can afford it, a separate bathroom
Mm.
between the partners. Then you really have an unbelievably happy life, because you both have a little bit of your own space attached to the bedroom. And it's
Mm.
important, because if you're going to share that bedroom, then you at least need to have, and people are different. I mean, some people, it's very important for some people to have a bath in their house, um, less so for others. If I didn't have a bath, and I do have one in this house, but I hardly use it, um, I'd be okay if I didn't have it at all. And there would be more space in the bathroom then for, I don't know, basins, counter space, cupboard space, somewhere. You get so many nice things for a bathroom these days too. And I mean, some of them are damn expensive. Um,
Mm.
I've never got a heated towel rail, but I'd like one of those. That's a nice thing to have, especially in
Yeah.
winter, right?
It's pretty good if you live at the coast, especially where things can be a bit muggy,
Muggy, yeah.
when
We have
a
to
bit
dry them off.
humid. Yeah, so that, and then baths are always good for resale, especially for new families.
Well, I know all of us are looking at how we can save money at the moment. So it's irritating when Leigh-Ann comes on and says she's bought a new shower head, and we're talking about heated towel rails and all these things, because you wake up and you go, "Oh, that would be nice," but actually the bank balance is looking completely shitty at the moment, so I can't. But another thing you've got to spend money on is, like, you've got to renew your towels every couple of months.
Mm.
You honestly, if you've been using the same towel for more than 5 years, I think it's time for an upgrade, because they just
Yeah.
they just don't stay nice for very long, you know. And also, there's nothing worse than one of those old smelly towels. Ugh.
Oh, and there's nothing better than a nice new fluffy set.
Oh man. Anyway, all right, that's something to think about. Tracy says a heated towel rail is the shit. Until you've had one, you don't know what you've been missing out on. They're pretty power efficient too. Well, yeah. I mean, if you really, really have lots of money to burn, there are people who have these heated bathroom floors.
Hmm.
So when you get out of the shower and you put your little feet on the floor, and the floor is warm, man,
Yeah,
that's
and it
that's
just it takes off
that's
that
luxury.
it takes off that crisp edge in the
Yeah,
bathroom, so you just don't feel like you're dying when you get out of the shower in winter.
yeah. No, these things, I'm telling you now, it's not just Leanne and I who think this way. Clearly, there are a lot of people in the comments who agree. But these tiny little things that make your day better, the fact that you might just have a nice coffee machine. You might just have and it might have cost you like a month's salary to get it, but it's worth it because you use that thing every day.
Mm.
This is special, special stuff. Moving on to other things, apparently South Africa, this is a record that we didn't know we were going to have, but apparently South Africa may just be home to the world's oldest person,
This is
right?
true. Well, I actually don't know if it's true. So, a lot of times what happens is that it's kind of people make up their birth date because no one ever really told them.
Right.
So this hasn't been verified, but they've actually approached the Guinness World Book of Records and said, please come and verify this because we're pretty sure this is spot on. So it is a statement made by the Adopt an Elderly campaign in Mahikeng in Northwest. And they say they want the Book of Records to recognize Johanna Mazibuko.
Oh, yeah?
She is apparently 128 years
No.
old.
Wait, okay, I heard about this woman, but 128 is that's a long time. Johanna Mazibuko.
And listen, she's still sitting up in a chair. In this photograph, she's wearing in the news story, she's wearing a little sash. She doesn't look that impressed with life, but who wouldn't be at that age? And she's got her big floaty balloons of 128.
Yeah.
So she lives in Uberton outside Klerksdorp and is
Okay.
believed to be the oldest person in the world.
Mhm.
So here's where I'm a bit confused, and we need our calculators because we know what we're like when it comes to
No,
numbers.
terrible.
So she is 128. Then it says that her children are aged 83 and 81 respectfully. So let's take the
Spring
80.
chickens.
Let's
They're
take the
spring chickens by
83.
comparison with Johanna. Okay.
She would have had to have been 45 when she had the 83-year-old. I suppose
Wow.
it is possible.
Yeah, it's possible.
But did
Yeah.
she have just 2 children when she turned 45?
Well, here she is. Here she is. She's sitting in a chair. She's got a walking stick next to her. She does look fucking old, if you don't mind my saying it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell this woman's way into the, I mean, this is a century of hard work. And you look at those lines on that face tell a story, you know?
It's
And also
unbelievable.
she is unbelievable. I mean, if she's 120, how much? 120?
128.
No, like that means what year was she born if she's 128 now? She was born before 1900.
It's when we need our calculators again.
Yeah. Just do a quick, Leigh-Ann and I.
1894.
1894. Oh,
Uh-huh.
she was around while Queen Victoria was still reigning over Britain and South Africa was a British colony. And the first Anglo-Boer War had begun.
My word.
That is incredible.
Literally the stuff we learn in school.
Yeah.
So according to the Guinness website, the oldest person to ever live was Jean-Louise Calment from France, who was born in 1875 and died in 1997 at the age of 122 years. So, I mean, this could be quite big. And I mean, there's a spokesperson who's now reached out and said, look, his name is Prophet O.J. Madikong. He's the initiator of the campaign.
Yeah.
But let's see. Maybe she'll get the recognition she deserves. Maybe it'll be proven somehow.
I don't know. You see, the difficulty is you don't always have good record keeping. So it's going to be very hard to prove this. You can't just like cut off her leg and count the rings like you would with a tree. But there's got to be. I'm sure there's a scientist who can help us figure this out. There could be a doctor. Like you do get people who have to guess someone's age based on various biological and physiological characteristics. There's got to be a way we can actually ascertain just how old she is.
But I mean, if she is 128 and she is the oldest person that ever lived, then these scientists will not have seen this before.
Jeez. Wow. Okay. I didn't know that we had the oldest person. I know we got a lot of old people in this country, and you sometimes see them, and some of them drive, which is very scary.
Yeah.
If you've ever found yourself behind a particularly slow car in the fast lane on the highway, You usually go, that's a very old person. And then when you drive past, yep, you can see they're very old. And they're sitting like this on the steering wheel, going
Oh gosh.
at like 60 Ks an hour in the fast lane. And they haven't realized there are other people on the road. Probably
Or,
can't see in front of the car at all for more than 5 meters or so.
well, I told you the story of the guy I went to varsity with, who
Mhm,
I was friends with, and his dad had this enormous matchbox of an old Merc
mhm.
in like a glittery green, pale glittery green.
Was it one of those old Mercs that the politicians used to drive around in the 80s?
Yes,
Yes, those ones that look like a green mamba.
yes. And I was in
Okay.
the back of that. The dad was driving, and my friend was sitting in the front,
Yeah.
and we were on a highway going to varsity.
Hmm.
And I was kind of staring out the window, just taking everything in. And the next thing I knew, we were getting closer and closer to this car that we were parallel to.
Yeah.
And eventually we touched. The cars touched.
On the highway.
Yes. And I was kind of going, no, 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 no. And my friend said, Dad, do you know that you've just kind of rubbed sides with this car? And he said, oh, did I?
Oh
Had
my
no
God.
idea. No idea.
Well, telling you. Well, you made it, Leigh-Ann. You survived to tell the tale.
Yeah.
We started this morning with this whole discussion of the eclipse, which apparently happened last night. If you saw it, or if anyone's taking pictures of that, then let us know. We want to see it. Love that stuff.
Mm.
I had quite a busy weekend, actually. I didn't expect it
Oh,
to
yeah.
be. Yeah, one of my friends went back to America, so we had a little farewell for him at another mate's house, which was quite cool. And then on Saturday, I was invited to this kind of outdoor festival thing that they did at Mushroom Farm Park in Santon. They're
Mm.
yeah, in that little sort of wedge between, what would you even call that area? I suppose it's Santon proper. I mean, you got that Radisson Hotel there.
Mm.
The Gautrain Hotel is just a bit further up, but that one's the one that overlooks that park. Where they used to have that Hyundai balloon.
Yes.
Remember that? So that's where it was. And there was this like daytime festival thing going on there that a friend of mine from Cape Town and another friend of mine up here were organizing. So I went along to that, and that turned into a huge party. And I ended up like Ubering myself home at 2 in the morning or something. So I had a big Saturday, which was unexpected.
Look at you.
I know. Can still do it if I want to, huh?
I don't know. How long has it taken to recover, or did you bounce
I'm
back
still
pretty
No, I
fast?
think I'm still recovering, and I've got such a busy week this week, so I'm just have to pull myself together and get on with it. But it was really fun. I mean, I saw lots and lots of cool people there, and it's amazing who you go to these things sometimes when you don't plan anything, end up seeing a
Mm.
bunch of people who you really are thrilled to see because you might not have seen them for a very long time. And because you are just open to the idea of whatever, like let me just go and enjoy myself and not be like, oh, well, I need to do this and I need to be with those people. I just had fun. It was really cool. Nice, nice big crowd of people just having a happy time. Um, so here's an interesting thing. Jared says, if scientists can carbon date a piece of rock from 5 million years ago, then surely dating this person by their age would be easy. Well, you would think so, right? I don't know if that's always possible.
Also, perhaps
They
it's
usually
easier
can't they
to
tell by the
tell
teeth? The teeth is usually it, but by the time you're 128,
you
you
don't
can't have
have any.
no teeth left, right?
No, there's that. But also, I think it's easier to determine the age of a dead person than a person who's alive,
How? What, the bones
because you're
themselves?
able to cut in and do like an
Which
analysis, which you
which
shouldn't
is
do on a live person.
shouldn't you? Is that unethical? Oh, okay.
It's frowned upon.
That's frowned upon. All right, there we go. Good, useful information from Leigh-Ann. All right, so here's some news headlines for you for this morning. Let's see what's actually going on in the world, and pay attention because we don't want to be caught with our pants down. So you know how embarrassing that can be, Leigh-Ann.
Well, some of us do want to be caught that way.
So Operation Dudula has sent its marchers to launch a campaign in the Western Cape. These, of course, are the people who are essentially campaigning against illegal immigrants. It's very controversial. About 250 people, mainly Dudula residents from other provinces, marched through the city streets of Cape Town for 4 hours, singing anti-foreigner songs peppered with xenophobic phrases such as Hambani Makwerekwere, which we know means go away. Kwerekwere is like a pejorative for people who come from other parts of Africa. They also chanted South Africa for South Africans, Zimbabwe for Zimbabweans, Mozambique for Mozambicans. That doesn't sound like a very good song, by the way. Go ahead and fix your countries. The group handed over a memorandum to the Cape Town police and were expected to hand over another to the Department of Home Affairs, but no official was available at Home Affairs to receive it. Surprise, surprise. Is there ever anyone at Home Affairs to do these things?
Knock, knock.
Operation Dudula is a non-political movement, they say, that works with communities to highlight social injustices. I don't believe that. And economic injustices faced by South Africans. That was what the memorandum said anyway. But as far as we can tell, they just sound like a bunch of people who are pissed off, right or wrong. But they're people who are pissed off mostly with foreign nationals who are in this country. They don't, it seems they say that they're against illegal immigration, but I don't think they like foreigners, full stop. I mean, just judging by their behavior. Let's see what happens here. It's a very complicated thing. We've discussed it with Lebang on a Tuesday morning. We've discussed it with Pumi on the Burning Platform before. And we've discussed it with lots of politicians, including Gayton McKenzie, who seems to be a part of it, including Nhlanhla Lux. And there are a whole lot of other people who are involved. It's not going to go away. We've got to find a way of talking about this and making sense of it. So I really think that if we can't just treat each other with a little bit of respect and kind of try to find a way to make this work, these people are not just going to gather their things and go away to Zimbabwe or Mozambique, right? The reason they're here is because they're fleeing something much worse. They're trying to create an opportunity for themselves in a place where they see more opportunity than in their home countries. So just saying to them, go home, Hambani Makwerekwere is not exactly going to help anybody. So that's happening. And disappointingly, Joburg customers may soon get 100% debt write-off on municipal debt, the city confirms. All right, so let me tell you the story first, and then we'll get into how you feel about this. The city of Joburg has confirmed certain customers who are deep in financial debt may get 100% debt write-off and their accounts cleared. The city said it's aware that some customers are deeply in debt with the city for services due to the COVID-19 pandemic, including non-payment. Some residents have adopted as a culture. It is said that the only debt write-off program that's been approved in council is debt rehabilitation. The MMC for Finance, Julie Sudabi, told the Citizen that the city wants to help citizens who are overwhelmed by municipal debt. All right, so if you've got a bill and it's a crazy amount of money from the city of Joburg, you may be asking yourself, if you've paid, how come the people who didn't pay are not going to get away with it? And I've paid them this money. That would be my first thing, is like, hang on a second, guys. I think I've been paying my municipal rates and taxes, even though it's been difficult for me too, and for everybody, I'm sure. So how come I don't get this windfall if they do decide to write off other people's debt? How do they decide which ones do and which ones don't? And surely the people who've been good payers and who've been paying every month and who haven't been accumulating debt, those people should be rewarded, not the rest, right?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. And I mean, through my own experience, there's nothing that gains interest faster than an unpaid municipal account.
Oh, wow.
It happens unbelievably fast. I made one mistake once where I was renting a place and then I bought it and clean forgot that I needed to be paying the municipal rates, and that accumulated. And another time there was an underground leak that I hadn't picked up in the garden, in the one corner of the garden.
Right.
And at that stage, I was sitting with a bill of around 93,000 Rand. So, and most of it was just interest piling up and up.
That's a lot of money.
So, in those situations, and also just not being able to pay over COVID times, and the thing is, you can get away with it for quite a while before they pick up on it. So when you're trying to make the choice between buying food and paying that bill, you buy the food. So I do have sympathy towards the situation, but I do understand how people who've been paying feel.
Well, I mean, it's like, for example, in America, they've got this huge discussion going on at the moment about college debt, where, you know, people who've been to university and who've racked up enormous amounts, hundreds of thousands of dollars in student debt, that these people should be forgiven that debt, when the people who've not even gone to university and who are paying their taxes and who don't have degrees, they must now subsidize those people? That doesn't sound right to me. And the same thing here. If you're going to punish the people who have been paying and who've been, you know, good citizens of the city, who've been making sure that they every month that amount comes off, even if it's hurt them and even if they can't really afford to spread themselves so thin, it just doesn't sound right to me. And then you forgive those people their debt. Anyway, we got lots to talk about on that front, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. But there's no easy solution here. Now, I don't know if you saw this, but this gunman in New York State killed 10 people in what looks like it could be a racially motivated shooting in a supermarket. But this guy actually put himself on Twitch when he did this. So I think you can go online if you look hard enough. I'm not going to try and find this. I don't like seeing this kind of thing. If you want to watch someone actually shooting people dead, this guy wanted to do that. He wanted to broadcast this while he was doing it. It's absolutely horrific. And he just shot 10 people, just dead. He just didn't even ask questions. He was decked out in military fatigues. He had an automatic rifle, and he shoots these people in cold blood. It's just the most horrible thing. And, you know, you got to ask yourself again, because it turns into a thing about gun ownership, or, you know, the laws around what kinds of guns people can own and whether or not people need to go for mental health checks and things, or whether or not they're just terrible people in the world and they now can access things that maybe they shouldn't be able to access, you know, dangerous weapons. I don't think you're going to stop crazy people from hurting other people. That's the problem. He's 18 years old. He shot 10 people to death, wounded 3 others at a grocery store in a black neighborhood in Buffalo, New York, before surrendering after what authorities have called an act of racially motivated violent extremism. Authorities said the suspect, who was armed with an assault rifle and appeared to have acted alone, drove to Buffalo from his home several hours away to launch an attack that he broadcast in real time on Twitch. 11 of the 13 were black, apparently. So that means it's, you know, racially motivated, if you want to read that way.
I mean, a lot of these fictional programs that I watch on, you know, the FBI, etc., they've usually got tags on people like this. You know, they watch their social media, they look out for things like that. They're in contact with schools. So when you say it can't be prevented, to an extent it can, but many times these people keep absolutely everything inside, and then they just explode at some point when you just don't expect it.
Well, either way, it's just a horrible, horrible story, and we're not going to see the end of this anytime soon. This is going to carry on. It's not going away, because there are crazy people and there are dangerous people, and they will continue to do stupid, crazy, and dangerous things. So I'm sorry to be the guy stating the obvious this morning, but this is not just about guns. If you banned every gun, it'd still be crazy people who would do things like this. One last story, and this is something maybe we should all take note of and own up to. So I went to the shops yesterday, and I was not dressed in my finest, but I was not dressed in sleepwear either. Apparently Spar, you know, the Spar shops, Spar, SPAR, they said they've received complaints about customers wearing sleepwear in their stores.
Oh, God.
Yes. Apparently, they said that customers are uncomfortable with sleepwear being worn by some shoppers at the stores. Follows a poster that had Spa branding made the rounds on social media. Said, "Dear customers, no pajamas or nightgowns allowed." It is unclear if the poster was real or when it was placed. Spa said each store is individually owned and required to comply with all legislation. However, some stores have had complaints from customers that are uncomfortable with the sleepwear worn in the store. In these cases, the owners have exercised their rights of admission and have told people they can't come in if they're wearing sleepwear. But I wonder why Spa in particular is being targeted by lazy people who don't want to get out of their nightgowns. What do you think of this?
Okay, so I actually had to ask around because I'm past the age of the people who are wearing sleepwear in the street and to shops. But it's a bit of a trend, and it's apparently supposed to be indicative of I'm so wealthy I can just, walk around in my
So
lounge way.
it's almost like a humble brag. It's like,
Yes.
I'm so important, I'm not going to comply with these dumb rules.
Yes,
Uh,
exactly. And I bet you now that the people who are complaining are from the older generation, most probably boomers.
well, those people would have gone to the shops in their Sunday best because, like grannies never ever leave the house without, making sure their hair is done.
Yeah, and the bags match their shoes and
Yeah,
their
right.
belts, and they've got
Yeah,
lipstick on. And
right. Well, I don't know that this is something we should be encouraging. So even if I sound like I'm old, eh, you don't wear slippers and a nightgown to the shops. In fact, you don't even wear that outside of your house. Full stop.
it's a
I've
thing.
sometimes gone to like a drive-through or whatever, on a particularly hungover Sunday morning or whatever, and you're not wearing your best. You got like a pair of tracksuit pants on, and you got some shitty old pair of shoes on. God help you if you have to get out of your car because it's going to be embarrassing.
Yeah.
You're going to look like trash. And I've thought about it. I'm like, got it. You're taking a huge chance here because if anything happens, you get a flat tire or there's something on the way. You're going to be caught with those slippers on. That's not good.
Yeah. I was in a queue in a shopping center once
Mhm.
during COVID when it was quite a big lockdown time, and you could kind of sneak out to do a quick shop if you wanted to. And I looked down in the queue and I was wearing my slippers and I was so horrified. I was so horrified. And then I just remembered that it's kind of a trend, you know.
Okay.
I'm so
Well,
I'm so
Sean,
wealthy and
Sean says that apparently that these people who go out in their sleepwear are targeting Spa because that's one of the few supermarkets that open at 7 a.m. Okay. Hmm. That's really not good. All right, can we all just agree not to look like we've just got out of bed and gone straight to the shops? It doesn't make you look rich and powerful and important. It makes you look like you're a slob. And I'm not saying you have to get into formal ball gown to go to the shop, but it's a little bit of self-respect.
mm,
Forget about what other people think. You don't want to be caught like that. And also, it's a sign that you're kind of letting yourself go. That's what I would
yeah.
think.
It's
If I
also
saw
it's
if I saw someone I knew walking around in sleepwear and in a shop or in public, full stop, I'd go, "Ooh, that person must be on drugs," or they really have problems with drinking, or they're not looking after themselves anymore. It's something to think about.
mm,
It is time for It's Going to Be Okay with Dr. Hanan Bushkin, who's a renowned psychologist. He's also the head of the Anxiety and Trauma Clinic in Johannesburg, and he's our resident psych in the mornings on a Monday. He is here today to talk to us about something that we received from someone who listens to us, Claire. She sent us an email and she'll tell us the story in a minute. But she said she wants to I'm going to just cherry pick a piece of the email that Claire sent me. I want to make a conscious attempt of focusing on what I can control and taking everything a step at a time. I'm 16 and a senior level gymnast. I recently did a testing trial to assess my skill set, and everything went well except for one particular thing. So let's talk about this because this is really about how you overcome mental blocks and what you can do about those mental blocks. So let's get Claire on at the same time as Dr. Hanan. Hey, Doc, how are you?
Hey guys, how are you?
Good. Nice to see you. And
Nice to
here is
see.
Claire, everybody. Meet Claire. How's it, Claire? How are you?
Hi everyone, I'm good, thanks. How's everyone doing?
Good, good.
Hey
First,
Claire.
yeah, congrats on all the stuff you're doing with gymnastics. That's not an easy thing to do,
Thank
and
you.
it requires an enormous amount of discipline. And I'm always impressed with people who are, doing things at this kind of level that you're doing them. So well done on that front.
Thank you so much. It's
All
a
right, so
very
yeah,
no carry on this one.
no, it's a very
It's a very mental thing to be disciplined about, as much as it is physical.
absolutely. All right, so tell us first of all what you do, and then why you wanted to talk to Dr. Hanan this morning, because these days all the sports people who are really at the top of their game in the world, they all have like a coach, physical coach, and then most of them have got someone who also helps them with mental coaching.
Yeah. So I'm training 3-4 times a week, and I'm training 3 to 4 hours at a time after school and everything. And it's, I don't know, you're constantly working. And when you're in such a competitive sport, and if you're in any sport, you realize that the only goals you should be setting are personal goals to overcome. And when you can't achieve those personal goals, it becomes quite like daunting and upsetting because of the fact that, like, you know, it's something you set for yourself that you think you can accomplish, and then it doesn't happen, and you don't know how to overcome that.
And then you can be very hard on yourself, and you actually you lose focus completely, and it starts to unravel at some point.
Yeah.
So, Doc, is this something you get from a lot of people? I mean, you've got patients who you treat yourself. You've got lots of people in your extended circle who deal with maybe professional sports people. Is this something you've come across quite often?
So I do work with some top athletes, and the top athletes in their 20s, sometimes even early 30s. It's a very highly pressurized type of environment because you're dealing with ultra competitive A-type personality, and you're constantly competing against them to win and to get the goal and to get faster and to get bigger and to get stronger. So it's tough for somebody that has the emotional maturity of a 20-year-old. Can you imagine how stressful it is for somebody that's still at school or at 16 years old? So Claire, the pressure is immense, and you must learn to manage the pressure. Otherwise, we tend to burn out. And perhaps I'll mention a couple of things to you that might be of use. I know you discuss something that is very relevant, which is the mental blockage. How do you undo, or how do you overcome a particular mental block? So first of all, I'll mention there's 3 things that I want to mention to you that is going to be valuable. First of all, the pressure that you are going to put on yourself, you must learn to set realistic and specific goals for yourself. And the reason why you have to set specific and realistic goals for yourself is because the moment you're going to be competing against somebody else, it's very difficult to feel good enough. So you must always be competing, but against the better version of yourself. The moment you're competing against somebody else, there's always somebody faster, somebody taller, somebody that does maybe a better move than you. You'll never, the height of, or the best way to destroy your self-esteem is through the comparison to someone else. We must compete. And at 16, at 14, at 20, at 25, at 100 and 28, we must compete, but against the better version of ourselves and with our own self and our own realistic goals. But the only way that you can compete with yourself is if you set yourself personal, realistic, specific goals. The second thing that I want to mention, a lot of athletes say to me, and a lot of people say to me, Hanan, how do I not feel stressed? How do I actually release the stress? And my answer is as follows. The moment you value something in life, you're going to be stressed about it, period. You can't value something and not feel stressed. So if you're going to value something, you're going to feel stressed. So I value my kids, I'm going to be stressed over them. I value my work, I'm going to be stressed over it. I've got particular things that I compete myself with myself on. I'm going to value it. I do value it, and I'm going to feel stressed over it. There's no ways of not feeling stressed. As a matter of fact, if you don't want to feel stressed, then stop valuing things. And if you stop valuing things, let me tell you what happens. You get depressed. So you have to value things in life, and therefore stress is going to come up. The question is, how do you manage the stress? How do you manage? So it's not about not feeling stressed, but rather how do you manage it? And to overcome mental blockage, Claire, I want to offer you one particular piece of advice that will be valuable. I mentioned this a couple of times. If you listen to the show, listen to me speak. The brain is a very, very complicated and kind of a supercomputer. It can work out really deep calculations. But at the same time, it's very primitive and dumb. It can't do two simple things at the same time. If I ask you, Claire, to spell your name backwards and multiply 7 by 2.3 at the same time, you can maybe work one of those at one time, but do two things at the same time and your brain goes into an error mode, which is really, really interesting because we can use that to our advantage. Your brain can't focus on two simple things at the same time. So it can focus on the mental blockage, but it can't focus on other things, or it can focus on other things, but they're not on the mental blockage. So I'll give you an example. When I deal, for example, with top golfers, and they go, Hanan, I keep on swinging the ball in this way, and there's a mental blockage. I've done it so many times, I can't get out of it. What we have them do is focus their attention on things that they can control. So you might think, well, what can a golfer control? Well, we boil it down to the very specifics, even the way that they hold the grip. So we make them focus on the pressure of holding the grip, how their fingers feel around the grip, how their shoulders are turning when they make the swing. Can they control that? Of course. And if their mind focuses on A, it cannot focus on B. And what I want to advise to you is that obviously as a gymnast, there's certain things that you're aware of that you can control. Focus your attention on the things that you can control. Now, you might say to me, but Hanan, the mental blockage is so intense that I keep on going to what is bothering me. Then what I recommend is that boil down what you can control to its specifics. Make it even more specific. So go back to your sense of touch. How do your feet feel on the ground? Listen, I don't know exactly what you do as a gymnast, but how do your toes feel on the ground? How does your shoulder turn in a particular way? How does your head turn in a particular way? The point is focus on things that you can control, and your brain will naturally let go of the things that you can't control.
Yeah.
Well,
Perfect.
I mean,
Thank
does
you so
that
much.
make sense to you? Because it's really, I mean, a lot of this is kind of as Dr. Hanan says, it's because you care about the result, right? That's why these things would stress anyone out. It's the price you pay for being good at something and for caring
That's
about
it. Exactly.
I think it's just you forget to go back to the basics and remember how it feels to do the simple things, which is really helpful.
Yes, very good. And that's actually a really great point, Claire, because as you become more advanced in a particular field or in a particular art form or sport, then you kind of are at level 10, and you've got to remember to focus on level 1. What did you learn in your first class, as a gymnast? And focus on those small things, because in your first day at the gym, when you did your gymnastics, they didn't focus on doing, I don't know, all these crazy maneuvers and all these crazy moves that you're doing now. They focus probably on the simple things, your stance, your posture, the way your head is level, the way your feet touch the ground. And you want to go back to that for a reason, because that is simple and that is something that you can control.
Something else I want to add is that, so I'm also coaching now, and I'm coaching the beginners, and my aim in coaching is to teach these kids what I didn't learn and what I think would have been helpful when I was that age and that level, like you're saying, because it really is about the basics. And if you don't know the basics, then there's nowhere to go from there.
Yeah, for sure. If you don't know the basics, you'll never get to level 10. And by the way, again, the basics are important in our context, because whenever you're stuck at level 10, you can always go down to level 9. And if you're stuck at level 9, you can always start at level 8. If you're stuck at level 8, and so on and so forth. And at the very least, you got level 1, which is a basic. Absolutely. And that you can control. And the more you can control, the more your brain focuses on what you can control, the more it lets go of what it can't control.
Yeah.
That's impressive. So you're also coaching other younger gymnasts. I mean, this is cool stuff. Congrats to you. And I'm sure that somewhere along the way, you're also going to hit this aha moment where you're like, oh, the thing that I thought was so hard, I'm now over. It happens, especially when you are focused on getting over that next obstacle, which
Yeah.
is a very literal thing. It's not just figurative in gymnastics when you up and you're swinging from things and you're spinning around. I mean, it's an incredible thing to be able to do, and that level of bodily control is just extraordinary. I mean, there are probably apart from gymnasts, I can't think of anyone else who has to be as in tune with the balance of their body, their weight, where they move, the muscle control, the kind of extraordinary physical discipline that we mentioned at the beginning of this chat. So this is just one more level of control that you're adding on top of all the others. I mean, well done to you. It's incredible.
So
and also, I'm glad that you brought this up, because although not all of us are specialized athletes, this goes to everything, Doc. This goes to challenges you might have at work, relationship challenges. It's all the same. You could take Dr. Hanan's advice to you, Claire, and we can pretty much blueprint that across everyone's life.
Very much, very much. We all are stuck with something. We all have a mental barrier to something in a relationship, at work, financial insecurity or instability. So you can always relate the same principle and the same framework, the same blueprint, and copy paste it to other areas of your life. It's the same principle for sure.
All right, Claire, thank you very much for talking to us this morning, and have a good day today. And
thank you so much for having me.
Well done, Claire. Keep it up.
No.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we'll hear great things from you in the future as well. Nice to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. Nice meeting all of you.
Good stuff. That's very impressive. All right, Doc.
Yeah.
we got lots to think about.
Impressive.
Yeah, for sure. No, she is impressive. She's wonderful.
This whole idea of people, a lot of people put their own obstacles in the way too, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
we don't really have time to go into this, but I was talking to someone a couple of weeks ago, and she was saying to me that she's really struggling with this and that and the other. And I suddenly thought, I didn't say it to her because she didn't come to me for advice. She was just moaning. I thought, you've put a lot of those things in your way yourself, and you don't even realize it. And
it happens a lot, Gareth.
We don't see this, right? Yeah.
It happens a lot. Where the truth is, the reason why children in 2 seconds, the reason why children coped with this COVID, we've said this before, is because they don't see it as an obstacle. They just see it as it's a thing that got to work through and work around, period. Adults see it, oh my God, how does my life change? Let me wait for this obstacle to disappear. So they don't work around it, don't work through it. So yeah, adults unfortunately do create these obstacles and just wait for it to disappear as opposed to work around it or work through it.
Very good. Nice to see you, Doc, and have a good Monday.
Nice to see you guys.
Cheers.
You too. Bye-bye. Bye, guys.
There's Dr. Hanan Bushkin. We'll get him back next Monday. And Leigh-Ann and I have got lots of other good stuff in store for you for the next hour, including Collectomania. We got a really exciting guest on this morning. We started off with a tiny, tiny shot glass collection from Josh the other day. Well, we've got Chantal now, who has a proper collection of these. So we're going to speak to her. And she's also got a really interesting story to tell about what she's been doing for the last couple of years, work and fun. And it'll be good to talk to Chantal Nell. She's going to be joining us in just a short while. Don't go anywhere. cliffcentral.com on a Monday. A very, very May, autumny Monday. That's the only way to describe it, really.
This week on the Autotrader podcast.
Is it still worth the additional price that you'll be paying each month?
Well, I mean, a lot of insurers give you a discount on the insurance based on you having a tracking device. Does the one set the other one off? Does the lower insurance premium set off the price of the tracking device and its subscription?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's two, in that scenario, I guess there's two winners. You're paying less, and the insurance company has a high chance of recovering your vehicle as well.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
want to forget all about the 80s. Some people would prefer not to remember the hairstyles, the movies, the fashion, those pants we used to wear. God, those pants we used to wear. Some people would prefer to never hear an 80s song ever again. We are not those people. That 80s show. Music, movies, obscure references, and so many unchecked factoids. Fridays, 9 a.m. on Cliff Central. People say we're stuck in the 80s, like it's a bad thing.
All right, we are live, cliffcentral.com Monday morning, and plenty of stuff to talk about. We've also got the latest edition of Leadership Books Unpacked, where Manda Tsifularo and the co-host Ngobile Ngobo have continued to explore leading with an infinite mindset. This is a whole subcategory of business books, which, if you're into that stuff, is hugely popular and important at the moment. They're busy unpacking how to build trusting teams, studying worthy rivals, preparing for existential flexibility, and having the courage to lead, living and leading through serving others. The conversation is anchored in a specific book, this one called The Infinite Game, by Simon Sinek, someone who I'm sure everybody is aware of. He's considered one of the best minds in trying to understand marketing, understand branding, understand business in the 21st century. Simon Sinek's The Infinite Game. You can listen to Leadership Books Unpacked wherever you get your podcasts, and it's brought to you by Superlead. All right, so let's get cracking. We've got a lot to do this morning. We've got Collectomania in about half an hour from now, where we're going to talk about someone's collection. I I just heard the Hardy-Dars in the background. You know how much I love them. I got my parents this puppy in December, remember? And she's now about 6 months old, and she chases birds, and she often catches them. She's
Oh no.
no, but stupid ones like doves, and she's never caught anything other than a dove. But these doves are really stupid, and we were talking about this just the other day on the show. If you've driven on a road after it's rained and the doves, I don't know what they're picking up, little insects or seeds or whatever else it is on the roads. These things are really stupid. Sometimes they just don't get out of the way quickly enough.
No. I mean, I've been at a stop street before, and I saw another car pull off slowly and literally just rolled over the dove because they just don't move out the way.
They don't move out of the way. They're not very intelligent. They really are stupid. We call them the rats of the sky. And I mean, I don't have a problem with doves. They're at least better looking than Hardy-Dars. Hardy-Dars are a very prehistoric, horrible looking creature, and they make the most awful noise. At least the noise a dove makes isn't nearly as bad. But this puppy is having no trouble at all catching doves. So I don't know what to do about it.
Does she kill them? Because the worst is when they do a half job and then you're sacked with this thing. That's the worst part.
See, I haven't actually been present for any of the killings, to put it in, to put it down to, like, the murder occurred on this day at that time. But what I have noticed is that sometimes it appears that some of them may have already been dead. I mean, and these things do, you sometimes just find a dove lying on the lawn. I can't figure out whether she's killed them or not, but I don't think she's playing for keeps yet. I think she's too little still.
Yeah, no, it's just really a game.
Yeah, and pigeons and doves are so goddamn dumb. They really are. And I said to my dad, I'm like, are you going to sort this dog out, because you don't want to killing all the birds and you'll get. He goes, I don't care. If they're doves and pigeons, let her do what a dog does, which may be the right attitude. What are we trying to rescue? They're your Hardy-Dars, Leigh-Ann.
Yeah,
we're trying to rescue
Simon.
doves and pigeons. It seems like that is one sport. Those are two kinds of bird, which there is just no shortage of. Talk about sustainability. Doves and pigeons are everywhere, and wherever humans are, they seem to thrive, as opposed to other birds, which sometimes don't because of humans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thought I'd throw that in there, let you know. I'm still kind of disturbed about these people who go to spa in their night clothes.
I remember the days when we didn't have high walls and intercoms. Someone would just knock on your door, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you were in your pajamas and there was a knock on the door, it was like panic stations, because you needed to put on clothes before you'd open the door. Because no one must see you in your pajamas.
No. Right.
So yeah, it's definitely a generational thing, and then a trend thing as well on top of it.
I sometimes go and collect like Mr. Delivery or Uber Eats in my driveway, and I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I should be dressed like this. And I'm not wearing sleepwear, but I'm wearing, like slob around at home clothes. And that's that's bad enough. But to get in your car and actually go there and walk around in your dressing gown, or if you're a woman in your nightie or in your pajamas, I don't know that's ever going to be cool.
It's so interesting again, and I'm so obsessed with generational trends and things. But oh gosh,
Jesus, what are your cats doing?
The cats are at it. I didn't roll my chair over them, I promise.
All right, yeah.
Stop it, guys.
You were saying it's generational?
Because if this pajama wearing trend is an I'm so rich type thing, I'm doing so well in my life that I can just walk around in my pajamas, then it's interesting because when I was growing up, that was seen as a sign of poverty when you had a woman in a gown and her curlers and a packet over her head and a cigarette dangling out of her mouth. It's so interesting how this has completely flipped in people's heads,
Yeah, well.
You all know?
Okay. All right. So where do you still have to dress up besides the obvious? If you're invited to a formal party somewhere, we have to wear like if you're a man, a suit, or if you're a woman, a proper, dress, the kind of thing that you'd wear for a smart party. Now, where are the other places where you really feel you should dress up? Because people used to dress up when they went to the airport. I heard someone on Bill Maher's show the other day. What is her name? She's a famous writer. Not Annie Leibovitz, the photographer, but someone of that kind. She's a well-known, I'll remember her name just now. Anyway, she was saying what she likes the most about Europe is that people don't wear shorts in the airport. Now, it's a bit of an old lady thing to say, and she is an older woman. But it did strike me that, back in the day, long before you and I were even around, Leigh-Ann, people used to dress up for a flight. If you were gonna go to Cape Town, you wouldn't wear a comfortable pair of pants or, like a t-shirt. You'd get dressed if you're a man in a suit, and as a woman, you'd be smart.
Yeah.
My grandmother used to put on gloves when she drove the car. She would wear white gloves when she drove the car, for heaven's sake. I mean, this is obviously a very long time ago, but people used to take an enormous amount of trouble to dress up for things. Now we're going to spa in sleepwear.
There's also, if you look at a modern version of it, there's the school run where mums and dads have been, they've hit the floor running, waking up in the morning, making lunch, getting the kids dressed and ready to go.
If there's load shedding, you can't even see what you're getting dressed in. Sometimes people are getting dressed and they're not even wearing the right stuff because they did it in the dark. So you're wearing two different pairs of socks. You're wearing two different socks. You're wearing a different pair of pants than you thought you had because you couldn't see properly.
And in America, especially, the school run is, mums have to appear on top of everything and in control. Yeah. So a lot of them dress up and make sure that they've done their hair and their makeup. And they that's how you do the school run. You've got to be presentable.
Right. Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't know that there are that many categories where you still have to really dress up. I mean, when people go out at night now, even that has become like, hoodies used to be. I used to feel quite guilty if I wore a hoodie to things, even if it was our show early in the morning, where, I mean, none of us really dressed up to do the show in the morning when we used to meet in the studio, even 15 years ago. But I felt kind of a little bit lazy and slobby if I wore a hoodie. Now that's not a big deal. People do that all the time.
Now you've got your athleisure wear.
Is that what they call it?
Yes. So it's become trendy to wear a tracksuit and sneakers.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that this is a really interesting discussion because the rules have changed. Gail says, I always imagine, this is how she gets dressed. She says, I always imagine bumping into an ex. That is why I look presentable at the shops. That is a good
it's
think
so
about.
true. It's so true. And it's happened to me before. I was going through my divorce and I was moving house and I bumped into my ex-in-law's sister-in-law.
Oh, wow.
And I looked a mess. I mean, I was picking up nails or something from the shop. And, you know, you want to look like you're in control of things, and that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And even now, where we don't have to wear masks outside anymore, I'm kind of changing my mindset because I think people are going to recognize me easily. You know, friends that you haven't seen in a while, before you could just kind of cover up and slough off to the shop and wear your mask and no one would know.
Look, sometimes it's okay. I mean, listen, we don't all have great days every day. And there are those mornings where you really are just exhausted or you're hungover or whatever it might be. You get dressed in a less particular way than you might usually. But it's you've got to know that ex, the in-law that you saw, you know she's going to go back and report to the family. So I saw Leigh-Ann, that chick's really let herself go. Hey,
She's not doing so well, not handling this.
She was so much better when she was with you. You just know that she's reporting back like that. That's awful. Yeah, you got to be careful. Dr. Robin says, I once had a woman, not a kid, arrive for an appointment in a onesie. So bad. Onesies were a thing, like 10 years ago? I don't think they're a thing anymore, are they?
You would wear them as a joke or to bed.
Yeah.
That was it.
I mean, didn't we actually all had a one morning on the show, this is probably, maybe 10 years ago. Didn't we all like wear a onesie for the day or something? I think we did.
We were given these blue, navy blue onesies with white trimmings and a white logo on the chest. And we all wore our onesies.
I don't think I have that anymore. I think I gave mine away straight away.
Yeah.
I did not keep it. So what is the rule? Okay, now, while we're talking about this, so what is the rule with tracksuit pants? Because they're those gray tracksuit pants that every no-name brand shop has, right? You know the ones. They're the same color as this top of mine now. They're this kind of gray. Those you can wear them around the house, but you don't dare wear those outside of the house, in my opinion.
Everything's
outside of the house.
changed.
Has it changed? So I'm
no,
being
completely. Yeah.
Am I sounding like those people who used to dress up on planes and smoke on the airplane?
Definitely. Like you had a smoker's jacket that you would wear in the lounge while you had your cigar. But I mean, Kim Kardashian started the whole trend of wearing pink, velvet tracksuits with stripes up and down the side, with high heels, So then there's the music industry where you can wear whatever you want.
Yeah, but we're not all in the music industry, and neither are we Kim Kardashian. There's certain things that if you're rich, you can get away with it because it looks eccentric, and people will go, "Oh, yeah, but she's a multi-millionaire and she's a famous person. She can get away with that stuff." But if the rest of us do it, it just looks like we're poor and oh Jesus, so what the hell's going on there? It's like a maniac cat farm situation. What's happening there?
I have a youngish Tom who is just super hyperactive and just wants to play, and the other two are these old ladies who literally want to crochet all day, and he climbs into them out of boredom. It's horrible. It's very distressing, actually.
I just want to go to two of Zach's comments here quickly. Zach says, I teach my kids what my grandma taught me. Always be camera ready, even when nobody knows you. Don't go out looking like your problems. That's so good. Don't go out.
My gran always said you have to have matching underwear. And I said, why? Is it a sex thing? And she said, God, no, it's in case they have to cut your clothes off after an accident.
Yeah, we've had that conversation before. I don't know if that's still as valid. I really don't think that the paramedics are going to go, oh, we'd love to help you, lady, but your matching underwear, it's not it's not in keeping with what we're used to. So sorry, everybody, get into the ambulance, turn around, let's go. This one hasn't got matching underwear. Bye.
Or like rate them differently in triage.
Yeah. Oh, no, that woman's got matching underwear. You can work on her first. Zach also says, good morning. Watching you from a 70-inch Ultra HD screen with a well put together surround sound system is a bloody damn good experience indeed. Setting this up on my weekend was worth it. Wow. Okay. I don't know if you want to see Leigh-Ann and I first thing in the morning on Ultra HD. Now
I think I'm going to move back a bit.
Yeah, I'm also moving back a little bit. I don't want you to. I suppose this is why it's important, right? I mean, we're talking about being camera ready, but we did through COVID. We saw lots of people's houses, and we also saw the way they dressed at home, and we also saw how little care they took with things like their hair, or whether or not they brushed their teeth that morning. You could sometimes see someone on a screen in a virtual meeting, and just know that person really got ready 2 minutes before the meeting. You can tell.
So I have a lot of virtual meetings in my day job, and if it's client facing, then we do try and look a little bit presentable. But when it's an internal meeting, you have the right to just not turn on your camera and say, sorry guys, it's just one of those days.
Dr. Robbins says, and this is to my question earlier, I don't have any tracksuit pants, she says. To me, wearing them appears as though you've given up. Well, my one ex-girlfriend used to call them alcoholic pants because alcoholics wear them around, and especially when they're going to the liquor store on a Saturday, that's what they wear. So I'll never forget her calling them that. Therefore, I've got a kind of a mental block about tracksuit pants. I just can't do it. At very least jeans. I'm not saying you have to dress up in, smart trousers if you're a guy every day, but jeans are fine. Jeans are okay. Jeans are acceptable. Jeans are pretty much standard uniform.
I still think your standards are a little bit high and perhaps slightly antiquated. I think, I don't think we have to dress up that much anymore.
All right. Well, if you say so, but I think we are getting back into the world as, all the normal things start to come back, and we're not all trapped in our houses. And you think about it's 2 years ago now that we were at the height of lockdown. 2 years have passed since then. You remember where they were doing crazy things like arresting people for walking on the beach and stopping people from going into certain shops with Crocs on? I mean, I think that should always be a rule. Crocs are like tracksuit pants. You can't be wearing those things out in public.
They're worse.
Should not be doing that.
Unless you're in some sort of profession, like a nurse or something.
Well,
which is what they were made for.
Correct, but they're still terrible. I'm sorry. Not good. Do you have a thing about, this is something I actually did this weekend, and I'm quite proud of myself. I love it when this happens. I get like a couple of hours where I can actually pay attention to something that's been sitting on my to-do list for a long time, and then I do it. So I've got a whole lot of pairs of white sneakers, right? Maybe 5 or 6 pairs of them. And I've talking about collectomania coming up just now. I think I've got a bit of a sneaker obsession as well. We've had people on who are even more obsessed than I have, and than I am in the feature collectomania. But the thing about having white sneakers is that they have to be clean. And I saw a friend of mine 2-3 weeks ago. He had a pair of white sneakers on. They were pristine. I said to him, "Did you just buy those?" And he said, "No." So what I do with mine, and it's maybe a bit of a risky strategy, but I put them into the washing machine with usually with a towel maybe, or you've got to be something in there with it, otherwise it just hammers around in the thing. But you put a couple of pairs of them into the washing machine, only the white ones though, no other colors, because otherwise it's going to be a problem. And then you put in a towel, and then you put in some of that normal washing powder, but you also put in some of that vanish stuff, because that usually cleans the white stuff, makes whites whiter and brights brighter, that kind of thing. You put them in, and then I take them out after they've been through the whole cycle, and I line them all up to dry in the sun. Oh man, those white shoes, God, that makes me happy. It's such a dumb little thing, but again, since we were talking this morning about your new shower head, these are the things that make people happy.
I remember being at school, and when it was Civvies Day or something, we got to wear our normal clothes. And I remember it was always embarrassing if your sneakers were really white and new. They needed to look worn. Like
No,
worn sneakers were the thing then. It's
Okay,
kind of
well,
like jeans with holes in them.
even though we're the same age, that was not something I ever felt. I always wanted clean shoes, and I never ever looked at people with dirty shoes and thought, oh, I'm a bit jealous because those got more character. Hell no. The whiter and cleaner a pair. And I almost feel sad when I wear a pair of white sneakers for the first time, because I love shoes, right? I love these, especially sneakers. I put them on, but then I think, oh, I know what's going to happen. This is the best they're ever going to look. They're not going to go well from here. It's all downhill from here. It makes me a little bit sad, right?
It's kind of like looking in the mirror. I said to you once that every day you look in the mirror, it's the best you're going to look. It's downhill from here.
Oh, God. Hey, speaking of which, I told you last week I started feeling much better after I went to visit the doctor, because it was the COVID, and then it just didn't go away. My throat was still sore and all the rest, so I went and got these pills. Sorry. And then
let it all out.
Well, better out than in, I always say on a Monday morning. Anyway, I went to gym. Actually, I went back, and I'm going back today. I've got a couple of other appointments, so I have to squeeze it in somewhere else. But I'm hell-bent on getting this winter to comply with me and not the other way around. I'm not going to be a fat winter person. I'm going to get into good shape this winter. I'm using every cold day to my advantage. And I'll tell you something else. It is better in winter to exercise than any other time, because then you actually you warm up. It literally gets the circulation going properly. So this is a good time to do that. All right. Someone says here, this is a good point. How do you feel if someone steps on your white sneakers? Ooh. Very annoyed is the answer. Very, very annoyed. And some people do that and they don't even realize they're doing it. Drives me crazy.
Yeah. The other thing is, what I always get upset about is you'll see the back of my right shoe is always a little bit more worn from driving. It annoys me.
Is that from driving?
Yeah.
Huh. All right. Well, if you weren't, I know that you've been a long haul trucker for a long time, but I mean,
well, when I'm pumping the brakes.
I didn't realize it was wearing your shoes down. You're so tired of that Bloemfontein stopover, right? When you're hauling like coal down to Cape Town. Is that you've been doing that for years, Leigh-Ann? Well, it's about time you tell people.
It's so hard wearing white sneakers when I'm doing the coal run. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, Easy Pickings says 100% GC. Also be aware of the nasal cycle. Try to be more active during left nostril dominate breathing. Good Lord, Easy Pickings. I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Is that like Leigh-Ann using her right foot to pump the brakes? I don't know. I don't know what that means. Now I'm going to have to go and, like lovely lady Lee says, oh no, Leigh-Ann, now I'm going to have to go and check my shoes because that shoe thing is going to start bothering me. I didn't notice that my one shoe, maybe they aren't. Maybe it's just you, Leigh-Ann, maybe with your club foot.
Well, I've actually got the opposite. You know, I'm quite duck-footed.
Oh, okay.
So the outside of my right heel tends to rub more on the carpet.
Oh my God.
Very strange.
All right, so everybody, let's get our sneakers nice and white for winter, and then get out there and have people step on them, so you have to throw them away after a couple. I did throw away a pair of shoes the other day. I felt quite sad about it. They've been in my cupboard and I've worn them a lot, but I eventually looked at them and thought, nah, there's no way these can be worn with pride anymore. It's time for them to go. It's sort of you have to sometimes, especially this time of year, I think it's a good time to do the spring clean of the cupboards and to look at your stuff and go, I'd rather have 3 nice T-shirts that I can wear anywhere and they're clean and they're nice than have 10 old tattered ones that are starting to like pull in different directions. They don't even look nice when you put them on anymore because the collar's a little bit stretched and all that shit. You got to go through those clothes and throw out some stuff. So that's on the agenda for this week as well. There's a lot to be done this week. I'm going to be busy. We're coming up for Collectomania in just a moment or two, and we'll talk to Chantal, who's got a really interesting story to tell us and a great collection, which I'm very excited to have her show us. We like to see these things, which is why you also need to get on the YouTube And like and subscribe, especially on a Monday, for Collectomania. But before we get to that, apparently, and because this is the world we live in at the moment, Barbie have come out with a new range of dolls. And I just want to throw this in here because this stuff is it's not going away. It's maybe going to get worse. And I think it's ridiculous, but a lot of people say it's very inclusive and it's very important. Barbie are now coming out with new dolls. And don't worry, they haven't come out with a pregnant Ken yet, but they probably will. The new dolls, I don't know why this would matter, but a new Barbie you can get with a hearing aid or prosthetic legs. Because, all those little girls who were growing up without, Barbies with hearing aids, but they had hearing aids, they now feel terribly left out. So we've had to bring out a Barbie with a hearing aid. Am I being unkind?
Well,
what's the story here?
I knew by prefacing the story that you would probably feel a little upset by it. I have no issue with it. I mean, if I'm all for diversity and inclusion and all of that type of stuff. I know it's not your be all and end all, but yes, Mattel has announced a number of new dolls. One is wearing this hot pink hearing aid. Another one has a prosthetic leg, and then there's a new Ken doll as well with vitiligo.
Oh, right. It's important because the vitiligo community have really been protesting hard over the years for Ken to be more representative of them. Really?
Well, yeah, it's been happening. I mean, this is a brand that was heavily criticized for such a long time for the stereotypical Barbie body type.
Of course. And there are actual human people who have tried to make themselves look like Barbie. There are people who have
the thing is, if
implants and all kinds of things to try and look exactly like Barbie, the doll.
And if you looked at her measurements, and this is something that you'll probably remember from decades ago, if you had have translated her dimensions into human form, she wouldn't be able to stand. She would fall over.
No, she's too top.
That's how disfigured her body was. So now they're all types. Since Barbie came around, there are now more than 175 looks, variety of skin tones, eye colors, hair colors and textures, body types, and now as well disabilities.
So they got a Barbie. Have they got one with an eye patch and a wooden leg?
Well, I don't think people have wooden legs, but they've come close with.
The pirate community are feeling very left out because Barbie's always been two-legged and with both eyes working. I think the pirate community have a good reason to complain to Mattel.
I just imagine if I was a kid with a hearing aid, I would probably.
What?
I would.
Who?
Jeez, Gareth. I would probably be really quite amazed and impressed to see a Barbie with a hearing aid.
Well, I want to say, because we're mostly an audio show, most of our listeners are listening on podcast. I don't really care about the deaf community because they're not really important to us on this show. So I'm not going to be making a special deaf version of the show. Okay, sorry, that's not something that we're not as interested. The blind, now those are the people I can work with. I like.
You do know that on YouTube, what we're saying comes up in subtitles if you want them.
Oh shit! So the deaf people are going to hear about this.
Yes.
Oh God, I thought we were safe. Oh, and I do love those Barbies.
Lord.
Hold on, we'll edit this out. I do love those Barbies with the hearing aids. I hope they bring out more of those. We'll just put that over the part that I said just now. All right.
So even further now, they've modeled some Barbies on important women in life because there've been these unrealistic images of womanhood so far. But now they've handpicked a whole lot of heroes like female scientists, professors behind the vaccine.
Because people want a doll of that.
Frontline workers.
So, Leigh-Ann, what's the point of Barbies? Is it to change her outfits or to... What is the point?
Well, you actually, as a little kid, I would have a whole story in my head, what she was doing every day and when she got married and dating and, having children and doing that sort of thing. So you kind of, it's actually quite an important mental image thing.
Okay, so you're saying there may be some value to this. I mean, Hermine wants to know, do they have acne Barbie? Like Barbie with a really bad skin?
Well, they should. I think
we should.
so.
Huh? Yeah, because that's going to fly off the shelves because everybody wants an acne Barbie. So that when their friends bring their Barbies round, your Barbie's the one with the bad skin. Yeah, that's terrific.
Well, think about how collectors would go crazy for that, for all these new Barbies that they've got to buy now.
It's becoming very, very difficult. How do you know? You got to choose between the wheelchair one and the hearing aid one and the acne one and the fat one. And it's just so difficult. Used to be easy because Barbie was Barbie. Oh, well. All right. So speaking of collecting, I mean, this is important because collecting is what we do on a Monday. And we talk to collectors from all over the world who do interesting things and collect interesting things. And last week we spoke to Josh, who you may remember. He's just starting his shot glass collection from around the world. But that led us to Chantal, who got in touch with us about her shot glass collection. And she said this. She sent an email to us. I collected these while I was traveling the world. I'm an aerialist. And I started my collection while performing on cruise ships. Continued to collect them after joining Cirque du Soleil. I was super lucky to have a bunch of countries that I'd traveled to, which helped my collection. This is amazing. I mean, Chantal, first of all, it's really nice to meet you, and thanks for getting in touch with us. How are you? I don't know why, but we can't hear you. Looks like your mic is not connected. Let's just see if we can get that connection right. I'm going to put you back to Simpiwe and she's going to sort it out, but we'll get you back on. It's an aerialist and she's done Cirque du Soleil. How's that? That's going to be fun to talk to her about.
Wow. I mean, from gymnasts to this,
I know.
I was just thinking what Dr. Hanan said about not forgetting about your anxiety when you're concentrating on what you're doing physically. And for me, just walking up and down stairs, that's probably why I'm not anxious anymore, because I'm concentrating on which foot to put forward. Never mind being an aerialist.
Well, I'll tell you what, there is quite a lot of valuable stuff we can learn from our guest this morning, Chantal. She's got a really interesting story to tell us. And actually, someone else who listens to the show heard that Chantal was going to be on and told us that she's also a pole dance instructor and that she's done stunt work in movies. So I want to talk to her about all of that as well as her collection.
Wow.
But if you are a collector of interesting or unusual things, or if you know somebody who is, then you can also get in touch with us like Chantal did. And like so many other people do, they say, oh, I've got a friend who collects this or collects that. Let us know. All you have to do is send us an email to contact@cliffcentral.com. And of course, Collectomania is brought to you by the South African Gold Coin Exchange and the Scoin Shop. You can check them out at scoinshop.com. That's coinshop.com, but with an S at the front. And you can speak to Rail and all his terrific people there. Start your investment today. And listen, I hate to point out the obvious, but with the world economy looking like it is at the moment, you probably should be looking at gold as a hedge against the dollar or as a hedge against so many of the other things that are just not increasing and improving in value the way that they were for a couple of months of, last year, the year before. It's been pretty much like this on the stock market, going up in a steady direction. Not so much anymore. So if you
don't put all your eggs in one basket, that's for sure.
There we go.
And I think people are so quick to invest in shares and funds and things like that without thinking of other investments like art and gold and cryptocurrencies, which are extremely dodged at the moment. But yeah.
Well, there's a lot that people used to say, well, these things were guarantees. They're not guarantees anymore, and you can't be sure of anything. Bitcoin at the moment, $30,468. I think it hit a kind of new low for the first time in months. It got below $30,000 just the other day. Not great. So the whole reason I'm bringing this up is to let you know that the Scoin Shop could be your place to hedge your bets and to try some of the stuff. The South African Gold Coin Exchange and the Scoin Shop, scoinshop.com. All right, we're going to get to Chantal in just a moment. Here she is. There we go. Hey, Chantal.
Hi. Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear. Nice to have you on the show this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So first of all, I mean, you sound like you've had the most incredible and interesting life so far. You are, at the moment, you're also a pole dance instructor. You've done stunt work for movies. You've been in Cirque du Soleil, which is like, that's the top rung of aerialism, of performing in, kind of it's what would you call it? It was almost like in the circuses, they used to call them acrobats or something, right? In the old days.
Yeah.
This is incredible. When did you start? Tell us a little bit about you before we get into your collection.
So I started circusing when I was about 9. I joined a circus school here in Cape Town, and then was lucky enough to join a show in Sun City, which then led to joining a show in France, and then cruise ships, and from there it just carried on. So I was super lucky, just from a show to a show. And then, of course, the Cirque du Soleil thing, we did an audition in Cape Town with my best friend at the time, or my partner at the time. And that nothing came from that. And we were like, oh, okay, whatever. And then got a phone call a couple of months later going, hey, are you still available? So then managed to go join the training program in Montreal, and then joined the show. Yeah.
That sounds incredible. I also think that it's probably worth commenting on the fact that pole dancing. I mean, my sister does pole dancing and she absolutely loves it. It's a great way to keep fit. And it used to be this thing where people thought, well, if you're a pole dancer, you had to be a stripper. And that's all changed very much. In the last couple of years, people have started to take this very seriously. There are competitions. It's been recognized as an Olympic sport. So there's a whole different world that's opened up around pole dancing.
Yeah, we've been fighting really, really hard. It was recognized as a sport, and now just trying to change what people think of it. So like you said, you say, oh, I do pole dancing, and there's that bad connotation to it. When you guys were talking this morning to the Gymnast, where you'd mentioned something about there's not another sport, that uses that kind of skill. And then I was like, oh, yes, there is. Pole, it's pretty much gymnastics, but on a pole.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually,
Pole sport.
I saw that chimney behind you, and I thought that was a pole. I thought it was a bit close to the wall. And then when I saw that it's connected to one of those stove heater things, I suddenly realized it's not a pole. But this is obviously something that you can't just do. You have to really take it up as a discipline, and you can hurt yourself badly if you're not careful, right? I mean, you can't just jump on the pole and start doing these things. You have to have incredible control. You have to be very fit. You have to think about your breathing. You have to work with people who know what they're doing. And once you get into it, I think it must be lots of fun, but there's quite a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a great thing. The favorite thing about watching girls or ladies or even men coming into the studio is that they can't even pull themselves up in the beginning. And then, we do the training exercises and you slowly get stronger. And it's incredible to watch how people go from not being able to even stand on a pole to inverting and going upside down and doing incredible tricks.
Yeah, and literally holding on with like one ankle and their knee that's like twisted around the top of the pole. It's incredible. If I did that, I'd fall and brain myself the last time I didn't walk. All right, so Chantal, let's focus on your collection for a little bit, because I think this is fascinating. So everybody, even people who don't know that they're collectors, everybody collects something. And it's quite cool to put together a collection of more than just 4 or 5 things. You've been collecting shot glasses, which are also cool because you can use them if people come around for parties and so on. But over the years, you've collected a pretty large collection of shot glasses. So when did that one start?
So it was when I was on the cruise ships. We were looking for, most people collect magnets, which I was like, oh, not really my thing. And then I don't know why it started with the shot glasses. And then, it was kind of, we started with the little ones. And then in the beginning, I was a little bit of my OCD-ness was trying to get them to always be the same shape, the same color and that kind of stuff. And of course, that didn't happen. So then I ended up having to be like, okay, it's all right if you don't have the same shape. Then there was the fatter ones, the shorter ones. And I was like, can they not just all be the same? But also, collected doubles in the beginning because I was like, if one breaks at a party, at least I'll have a backup. But it got too much at one point. On the table now, I've got 171. I'm sure there's more in a box somewhere else. I just haven't been able to find it.
I'm looking at a picture now that you sent us of the whole collection on the table. That's a lot of shot glasses. That would be enough to get an army of people drunk. So, I mean, I'm just looking at this now. Which one was the first one? Do you remember what your first shot glass, the first collectible that you bought in this collection was?
I think it was in Italy because the cruise ships I worked for was an Italian cruise ship. So we started in Naples and then did a lot of the Italy. So I'm going to assume it was Italy.
All right, so take us through a few of these. I'm going to put up a couple of pictures that you've sent us on the screen here. So we've got a few here. One is from Mexico because it says Mexico on it. Cozumel, Uxmal, and then you got a Hong Kong. And then what's that one that looks like it should be South African? It looks almost like a Xhosa hat.
I think it was the Columbia, because I couldn't find anything with Columbia in it. So that was the closest thing I could get, because some countries just don't have shot glasses. You're like, what is going on, guys? So then you try to find something else that is similar to a shot glass. Here's another example. I'm not sure if you can see it. It was the same thing. It wasn't really a shot glass, but it was the best I could do at the time to try and get one.
Yeah, that'll work. All right,
It's a bit big.
Yeah, and that's huge. That is huge. If you had a shot out of that, you'd be
My kind of size.
Yeah. All right, so take us through some of these here. These are from Europe mostly, aren't they?
Amsterdam, the Rome.
Mm-hmm.
The one on the far right is Macau. So we traveled to Hong Kong and then went to go to Macau for just a night. So on the show, normally what happens is between the two, when the show moves from the country to a country or from a city to a city, the artist will have time off. And then in that time off, we would then go, sometimes it's what they call a double dark. You've got 2 days to go somewhere. So you try and find any place that, you can quickly dash off to go and see. So we were very lucky with that. Also made up a rule to try never to go back to the same place because there's so many places to go and see. Did have to break the rule for Rio. My best friend that I was working with had never been. So I was like, well, it's not technically breaking it if she's never been. So yeah, Rio.
Being on those cruise trips there must be so much fun there. I mean, especially you were a performer on there, so you guys get, as you say, these days off every now and then, and mostly during the day if you're not rehearsing, you kind of can do your own thing. And if you stop in a certain port, you can go and visit. You must have seen so many places and met so many interesting people.
Yeah, being an artist on the ship was cool because, like you were saying, we didn't actually have that many duties. It was pretty much just the shows in the evening, so we could get up and go out. The ships always did the same route for a couple of months, so you would go and see all the touristy attractions and then eventually try and find the things that you wouldn't normally find as a tourist, which was the fun stuff. It's like going down in Barcelona, which is one of my favorite cities, avoiding the rambles with your life because it's like going to the waterfront in Cape Town. It's like, go and do. There's so many other things you can do in a city.
I've only been to Barcelona once, but I had to go there. You have to go to, especially if it's like market day and they've got thousands of people out there selling stuff. You probably find a few shooter glasses there as well. Let's just look at some of these other ones quickly. We've got such a collection here. So there's Mauritius. I see one from Disney World. What are the other two?
New York and Lanzarote.
Wow. Okay. That New York one looks very New York. It also looks like you could probably have very dangerous drinks in that one.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. They all seem to be the same. Which one is this? Oh, this was Canada. But Gareth, I think you'll like this one. It's the Jose Express. You can't really see it.
Wow.
Jose Cuervo, sorry. Yeah. They have a train that you go from Guadalajara to to Tequila. Where you get on a train and then you go along the train and you drink tequila shots or margarita cocktails and stuff until you get to the little town of Tequila, and then you go walk around and you go see stuff in Tequila and you get back on the train and you carry on drinking. Needless to say, it was many tequilas.
That sounds like my perfect train ride. Yeah. They just keep bringing you shots of tequila. God, that's cool. I've heard about this train before, but you're the first person I've actually spoken to who's been on it.
Yeah, it was lots of fun.
All right, so that was a useful shot glass situation. You got Brighton here. We've got, what is it?
Buzios, which is in Brazil, a small little beach town. And then the other ones were, I think it's Bogota, Colombia, which is also one of my favorite spots.
Colombia, that must be a fascinating place to go to. It's on my list of, I think it's probably even in my top 5 of places that I want to go to because it's up in the top corner of South America. Did you go there on the cruise ships too, or was that a different trip?
No, that was with Cirque du Soleil. So we traveled, we did most of South America. And then, Bogota was one of my favorite cities, actually. Incredible people. Reminded me a bit of home, South Africa. Just a little bit of that unsafe feeling to it. But yeah, great city.
All right, so take us through these ones now. These are like double shots. These ones. These are the kind that you only hand out when you've got people at your house who can handle it. We got Florida.
Yeah. Yep.
That one's in Chile. I can.
Oh yes, Valparaiso, great little town as well on the ocean. La Nuba, which is one of the Cirque du Soleil shows.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually got Cirque du Soleil on it, so that's quite special.
Yeah, so it was in Florida. It was a permanent show in Disneyland. So it's actually quite a funny story. I meant to say I was trying to work out how much money I'd spent on the glasses, and sometimes they were really cheap, so like $2 or $3, and then you got like, especially these kind of ones where they charge you like $8 or $9, and you're like, do I really need that for my collection?
Wow. Okay, so last series of them here. You got Australia. Is that? There's that Greece in the middle, and then that one also looks African, and then we've got something that looks Australian on the other side.
Yeah, Mykonos, and the one on the far right was Peru. So the Naz, what's it called? The Naz. Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, all right, got you. These are so beautiful. I mean, do you display them? Do you put them all on a shelf somewhere, or do you just kind of have them in a drawer?
So they've been in a box under the chair, which I had to pull out after speaking to you guys about coming on the show. But I've been wanting to get a big display made so that I can pack them out. It's been on the to-do list. I've just never got around to it. So if anybody wants to make me a big, beautiful thing that I can stick them on, that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting, though, how many people think about the expense of their collection, and then it does sit in a box. And it's just such a waste, especially if they look as pretty as all of these. I mean, each one of them has a story. And each one of them might even remind you of a certain person. I mean, this is what makes a collection so great. It's like music. You know, every song reminds you of someone.
Yeah.
I just want to show people these pictures quickly of you doing the some of your stuff at Cirque du Soleil. This is incredible. You have to be so good at this to get into Cirque du Soleil is like the top of the pecking order when it comes to this kind of performance. I mean, look at this, these people hanging from the sky. It's unbelievable. Did you ever have any close calls or very, very dangerous situations that happened at Cirque du Soleil, or were you always safe?
No, touch wood. We did. Yeah, no, touch wood, just in case. No, we've had a few little oopsies where, you miss a hand or something, but we didn't have anything serious while I was on the show. I did have a small accident on the flying trapeze. So that's the big swinging where you go to a catch and somebody catches you, and landed up dislocating my elbow because I'd landed incorrectly in the net. Yeah, so that was the only touch wood big injury that I've had in all the years.
Well, I've got someone here called Carlene who apparently is in your pole class. So
yes.
Chantal's got she's amazing, kind, talented. She has created a wonderful environment at Pole Dance Cape Town and Edgemead. So lots of compliments coming in for you from people who actually know you, which is cool. When it comes to that pole dancing stuff, do you recommend, like, this is something that people can do to keep fit? Is it for everybody? Is it something that's easy to do, or do you have to be a certain age, a certain fitness, a certain weight? Is it easier for certain people? What would you recommend?
Yeah. So for sure, if you've got, upper body strength and core, for example, it's going to be easier in the beginning, but it's not something you have to have. We've had students rocking up, like I was saying, who couldn't even stand on the pole, and a couple of weeks later or months later, they're climbing to the top, they're inverting, going upside down. So yes, it's lots of core strength, upper body strength, but it's any shape, any size. There's no specific kind of body type that would be needed.
Do you use those shot glasses when you have people come around, or do you just buy those cheap plastic ones?
No, we do use them.
You do use them, because I've often had people here, and then I buy the cheap plastic ones. I'm like, no, I'm not going to get. Also, the glass ones, when they do break, it's a problem, but it's even worse if they're those big ones that you showed me just now, because those things, for some reason, people feel they always need to fill them to the top, and they're terrifying. They're terrifying.
Well, this is a big one as well.
Jesus, and that's from Mexico, clearly.
Yeah, also Mexico Tequila one. There's one of them, I can't find it now. There's a couple of Vegas ones, always fun to go to Vegas. There was one from the middle of the world, Salvador, so Brazil. Yeah, there's just so many. And like you were saying, they've all got a story behind them or some kind of memory that comes. There's one that I can't find it now. It says there is a place called Kalamazoo. It's in Australia. And the shot glasses actually says, yes, there is a place called Kalamazoo. Because you're like, what kind of place is that?
Cool. I love it. All right. So we've got to find a place for you to display these. And then obviously we can show off these collections. Listen, if you've worked out how much you actually spent here, do you think you'd be pleased with yourself, or do you think that some of it was a waste of money?
No, I'm happy with the collection. I try not to think about how much I spent. And luckily it was done over a long term. So it wasn't all at once.
But yeah, for sure, they definitely added up.
Are you still in contact with all the people you did Cirque du Soleil with?
Yeah, we're still in touch. The shame, the whole COVID vibe, the shows have been closed for a couple of, the 2 years. They're slowly starting to open up again, which is great. So yeah, it's really, the posts are starting to post back on Instagram and socials like that. So it's nice to see them back on stage.
Well, I'm thrilled that you made time for us this morning, and thanks for telling us about your incredible collection. It's also great to meet you and hear your story. Just quickly before we go, you've done stunts in movies.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So as Cape Town's quite a big place for doing movies, so a lot of stunt stuff happen, or movies happen in Cape Town. So lucky enough to get involved with that. Also did manage to get a job on Wonder Woman, flown to the United Kingdom to join the Wonder Woman crew, which was really, really incredible.
Jeez, that's amazing. What kind of stunts are we talking about, though?
So more kind of the aerial stuff is my thing. I'm not a fan of hitting the floor, but if we have to do it, sometimes it is part of the job. But normally kind of your aerial work or big falls and that kind of stuff because of my aerial background.
That's amazing. Is it difficult to do these things? Do they have to pay you like danger pay because it's sometimes quite complicated stuff to do? Or is it really easy for you compared to some of the stuff that you've been doing in your other performances?
It depends on what the stunt is. So like if it's jumping out of a window and landing on box rigs or something like that, that's kind of my happy place. Other things like rolling down stairs, I'm like, not so much because it hurts way more. Yes, exactly. So you normally do get additional pay if the stunt is something that is more dangerous than just a general day rate.
Unbelievable. Well, listen, you're an inspiration. It's nice to have you on. And thanks for sharing your collection with us again.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great.
Cool. What a pleasure to meet you. There's Chantal Nell, and she has a brilliant collection of shot glasses and a really interesting story. And it's nice to meet people who are doing cool things like she is.
I'm just disappointed that my favorite one happened to be from Brighton. I was like, couldn't it have been something more exotic?
That was your favorite one? Brighton.
Yeah. Love that one.
There it is. Okay, yeah, that's cute. It's very pretty. It's beautifully made. I don't actually have any collectible shot glasses, but I did for my birthday last year. A couple that I know gave me some shot glasses, which were beautifully made with like they actually had they were personalized, so it's got my name on it and everything. And I don't put those out when I have drunk people here.
Yeah,
that's not what you want. But I will keep those and look after them. It's nice to have, decent glasses. Anyway, that's all we got time for this morning, and we will join you again tomorrow, bright and early, 6 o'clock. Make sure you don't miss the start of your day here with cliffcentral.com. We have lots of good stuff coming your way this week. It's going to be a jam-packed week full of interesting people, and you don't want to miss a single thing. Leigh-Ann Moll, we'll see you on Friday.
See you then.
Magic. All right. Cheers, everybody. Have a